Thank you so much for watching my show. William Wallace for America. With me today doing the legislative wrap-up is Louisiana State Representative John Illg. Representative Illg, thank you so much for being on today. I really appreciate it.
Again, man. Happy you were able to make it over today. I'm a little groggy.
Yeah, I know you were telling me how you just got back from Omaha, right?
Yeah, Omaha. Not Peyton Manning's Omaha, but
oh yeah,
great town. There wasn't audibling here, but great town, great people. Second home to LSU doing the summer season, doing baseball season. If you've never been, you need to go to Omaha. If you're a baseball fan, put it on your bucket list and make it, because it is truly an outstanding experience. Just the people, the crowd. From talking to the people up there, I've been 3 times, and I've been there to see LSU lose. It's a lot more fun when they win. It's still a wonderful experience. Just if you're a baseball purist, if you love America and the flyovers before the game and everything that baseball in America is about, and the purity of summertime and being able to spend it with my son again, it means a lot. There were a lot of fathers, a lot of sons, a lot of father-son combinations there. That I had a friend of mine that I brought that played college ball, and he said, "I can't believe I've never been here before." It is just a tremendous experience. I was happy to go experience the championship, and I'm glad I went, because I left a vacation with my wife to go on a vacation with my son. So I left my wife at the beach for the last couple of days, because I said I have to go, and she understood. She said, "I wish I could have taken her with us," but we picked up, we drove up, we had no tickets, we got tickets. I said I always had faith that if you want to get in bad enough, you can find your way into the stadium, and we did. I'm not sure how many people. If anybody's a little groggy today, give them a break, because I think we're all just getting back from.
And you just got back at like 1 a.m. I think you said.
We drove 16 hours at 1 a.m. this morning, so it was quite the trip. But I know back to the real world, and I'm here with William to kind of talk about some of the legislation and wrap up what went on in the 2023 fiscal session up in Baton Rouge.
Well, you've got, I was looking at some of your legislation. You got House Bill 118 requires 1 semester of instruction in personal finance management. What was that one?
Yeah, that's a fiscal responsibility bill for our high school students. It was actually brought to me by a friend last year that he had told me, he said, "Man, you got to see what Florida just did." And I read the legislation. I said, "Boy, this is a great piece of legislation. That's something that needs to be done in our schools." During the session, Representative Nikki Mascarello filed a similar bill, and Nikki had come to me and asked about him carrying the bill, and he was pretty vested into it also. It was a very similar bill. I told Nikki he was more than welcome. I've been battling. Unfortunately, my father's had some health issues throughout this entire session, and I told Nikki if he wanted it. I knew it was going to be a popular piece of legislation. I actually think we probably had 95 co-authors on the legislation. I told Nikki, I said, "You want it, you can handle it." The bill passed.
So you hand that one over to Nikki then?
Well, the way I look at things, there's a lot of bills that are filed that are similar, and a lot of times bills get scheduled, and people run the same bill, well, almost identical. Rather than getting together and saving the time of the committee, get together, work the bill out. If the bill passes, it doesn't matter whose name's in the back. I was always a big guy and more of a lineman and not a skill position player.
It sounds to me like it's almost like the same teamwork that we were just talking about in Omaha is the same teamwork that you bring your baseball history into the legislature to do teamwork to get the home runs for the state of Louisiana.
Absolutely. I truly believe it's about the we and not the me. I always preach that with the kids I coached, and I had parents through the years go, "How come you don't put their names on the back of the jersey?" I said, "Because they play for the name on the front, not the name on the back." And the way I feel about it is I play for Team Louisiana, not Team John Illg. So if the legislation passes and we're successful, I think we all win. And I think there's a number of people up there. In fact, most of the legislatures like that. We just want to see wins. We're tired of it being about one person. It's not about one person, because you can't get anything done up there by yourself. If you can't get 53 of your colleagues in the House and 20 in the Senate to believe in what you're doing, and then the governor to sign it, you didn't do anything.
It says a lot about how people are quick to judge about other legislators or a legislator that may or may not vote the way they want them to vote, when what you're talking about is how they all work together, and sometimes it might not be for one particular vote. It might be for something that's more inclusive, that brings more people to the table. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying the end result is you need teamwork. You need to work as a group, and you can't pass any legislation if you can't have the support of the other people. So being able to explain your bill and make people comfortable in what they're voting in, that's the way you get things done. And there's many people that say, well, this bill's such a great bill, you just don't understand it. Well, yeah, if you can't explain it in a way people understand it, they become very apprehensive in passing something that they're not.
It's easier for them to vote against something they don't understand.
If you don't understand it, how can you vote for it?
Exactly.
And it's unfortunate. You do have to work. People always told me when I got up there, said it's about relationships. Well, I've been in sales a long time, and I know you've got to be able to explain your product and make people comfortable in what you're selling. So, to us, what we're selling are good ideas, and you're selling it with having a good salesman. They always say sometimes bills die because you don't have the right author. The right author makes people feel comfortable because they explain the bill the right way and do it the right way. And that there are very, very many good legislators with great ideas, but they have trouble passing the bill because people aren't comfortable with the person that's trying to pass that legislation.
Well, you got House Bill 474 that provides relative to licenses for certain raffle games.
Yeah, it's for charitable gaming. One of the things Representative Desatel, a good friend of mine, to come. This year being a fiscal year, you only limited to 5 bills.
Right.
So you had to pick and choose, and I had a couple of bills that one I wasn't so sure about carrying once they introduced. So you don't commit to all your bills right away. You kind of hold the bill back or two, so you never know which important bill. You don't want to commit to all your bills and then go back and say, look, I'm not going to run your bill. I'm going to do something else. So I was non-committal on a couple. Darryl came to me because I had one free up at the end. He said, look, I've got a charitable gaming bill. We talked about it, and I said, it probably does need to be cleared up. And what it does is, say you had a small charitable raffle, a 50-50 or some type of raffle in your school. If you wanted a new computer lab and a teacher said, well, we're going to put a raffle together, you were having to go through certain parameters to set up a checking account, to have people go through training on how to sell raffle tickets. And as much as people want to get involved, if you make it prohibitive where they go,
right.
I don't want to go through all of that.
Exactly.
We made it a little easier for people in small raffles under $10,000 to be able to kind of lessen the burden on the requirements needed to have these raffles. It's a very
helping the nonprofits out,
helping a nonprofit, helping a baseball team,
right? Exactly.
Or whatever
the little guy.
Somebody's having a cancer fundraiser, and you're going, okay, well, you got to go through all these classes, and anybody that wants to do it has to go through a 3-hour class. People are like, I want to help, but I don't want.
I don't go through all that.
You wanted to simplify the rules for the smaller.
You got government out of the way a little bit.
Well, you make it easy. You want to feel like government works for the people, and sometimes it doesn't. So sometimes we put things in, but we worked with the Office of Charitable Gaming. They helped promulgate the rules, and I think everybody's happy at the end. Senator Talbot, I think, helped me carry it through on the Senate side, and we got it where we needed it to be.
Well, 511 has already been sent to the governor. Provides relative to the Louisiana Insurance Guarantee Association.
Yeah, that bill. This bill was supposed to be an easy bill. This bill basically increased from 1% to 2%. The fee that insurance companies can be charged to help for the companies that went insolvent. So Louisiana Insurance Guarantee provides for if you're sitting and your insurance company went bankrupt, belly up, they guarantee that your benefits will be paid. But to be able to do that, they're charged 1% of what they write. So now we've freed up, not that they will, but that they could be charged up to 2% because we incurred up to $660 million in debt through IDA. So it basically will help pay off and service that debt. So they did this after Katrina, and they asked to basically have the ability to do it again. It just basically gives them the ability to charge 2% to the insurance companies that are still writing.
So it increases the fee from the state to the insurance companies.
From LIGA, not from the state, from the Louisiana Insurance Guarantee Association.
That's it. That's I guess.
Well, that was brought to me by LIGA saying we needed to do this. I mean, a lot of your bills come to you because people come to you and say, hey, we need this change, and you got to find an author. Because I'm on the insurance committee, my chairman came to me and said, there's another one where I had 2 bills left, and they said, can you spare one of your bills? We need it. This bill got a little complicated because as it went to the Senate side, they had some questions. But we ended up working it out in conference committee where everybody was comfortable, and we actually passed it on the last day through the conference committee.
And it's already to the governor.
Last day. Yes, sir.
517 provides relative to alcohol beverage products for consumption of off restaurant premises.
What this bill does, this bill was brought to me by the Restaurant Association. They come to me. You would think nowadays in Louisiana and in New Orleans that you could leave a restaurant with a beverage.
I thought you could.
Well, technically you can't, and now you can, because if you went to a restaurant and you said, say you were out and you wanted another margarita to take home, technically you can't. But now with this legislation, you can get a margarita to go if you're at the restaurant and you're ready to leave, and you say, I want one more to bring to the house. As long as you put a lid in a proper container and have it lit, almost like when you drive through the drive.
I was going to say that. Go through the daiquiri store.
You can, but they're not the same. The restaurants weren't the same. You would think ATC, but technically they needed this. This was more of a cleanup bill to get everybody right in statute.
Kind of helps the restaurants out a little bit.
It does, and I've carried a number of bills through the last couple of years to help the restaurants out because the restaurants have. Look, the restaurant industry has struggled. I mean, we did delivery. We helped with some of the alcohol delivery sales in prepackaged containers and manufactured seals a couple of years ago. They come to me, anything that can help the small restaurant and the small business survive through these tough times. And basically, this was just more of a cleanup bill. So
Got it.
Nobody was in violation. ATC was in favor of, and we worked with them. A lot of these bills, as long as you go get with everybody and make sure everybody's okay on what you're trying to do beforehand, you give question because you've got certain areas of the state that don't allow outside beverages and don't have certain alcohol sales. So I said none of this changes to areas that don't allow this. It just is in areas like New Orleans, Jefferson, Baton Rouge, places that do allow you to leave. It now allows you to leave from that restaurant. If you're at Galatoire's and you say, man, I want another old fashioned, I'm going to take it with me to go. Technically, you couldn't do that before this bill was passed.
This sounds like this bill's not only going to make the restaurants happy, but it's going to help a lot of people go home happier.
You're right about that.
Pun intended.
Safely.
Yeah, safely.
Uber home.
As long as they're not driving home.
Use Uber.
577 provides for the collection of fees associated with facilitating an electronic signature or authorization.
This was a DocuSign bill, and this bill actually, I talked to you earlier about having similar bills. Scott McKnight Representative McKnight had a similar bill. He actually handled this bill. So this bill, as you can see, is pending House appropriations.
Yeah.
My bill never moved.
So yours didn't move. His did.
Yeah, his did.
Good. It's working like a team to make good things happen for us. 651 provides relative to alcoholic beverage products for the consumption of restaurant premises. Is that tied to the other one?
It is tied to the other one. So it's pretty much the same thing. The other things that I had on here were accommodation.
I always like talking about the commendations. Like HCR 32 commends Louisiana State University student Evan Leonard on being named a Fulbright Scholar. I want to give him that. Recommend that.
He's from River Ridge, and he was named a Fulbright Scholar. LSU had come to me and said we had LSU Day at the Capitol. And I talked to some of the LSU people, and they said, man, we have a young gentleman from your district. Would you mind handling a resolution? I've got a picture of me and him together and got to meet him. He's a great young man, and I'm happy. He's also a Blue Jay, so happy for him. And he moved on to his greater academic pursuits. But I got to meet him up at the Capitol. I got to recognize him. One of the greatest things you get to do is recognize people at the Capitol. When people come to visit and you know it is a special place. You've been there
Yeah,
a number
absolutely.
of
Yeah.
times.
See it all the time.
And to have people there, you don't realize how much it is. I've had a number of people through the years from my Monsignor getting to come open the day in prayer one day, to being able to have the invocation and do it myself. It is always great to be able to speak at that body, to recognize somebody from, may it be my parents, a friend,
Yeah. Right.
a baseball team, a group of people that are from your district. And I know everybody, you know, you've been there during the day. Personal privilege takes up a good 30 to 45 minutes every day.
Or depends. Sometimes I've seen people give State of the Union speeches.
Well, they read the entire resolution. I try and give the Cliff Note version because I do know our time is precious. And if you've been there, we start session usually about 2 o'clock every day. And the first 45 minutes of personal privilege cuts into your time. So sometimes you'll be there 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night debating bill. I worry when you get there that late. It's almost like driving home from Omaha, that mistakes could happen and legislation, because people are tired. You're not as fresh. So, you know, your time is precious up there. So
you keep them short.
You got to try and keep it short. And I think you lose people. I think people's attention spans are short. So
Yeah.
even when you present a bill, try and hit the high notes and take any questions that you may need afterwards. But you want to try and get to the point.
And you got one here for John McNally.
John McNally was an Eagle Scout, and he was out of Troop 490, which is St. Mary Magdalene, which is where my church is. And they came to me. They said, "Look, can we get?" I was supposed to present this to him, and it was the last week of session. I want to say it was like June 6th, the Sunday of maybe June 4th, the last week where we actually worked on that Sunday.
Mm.
We actually were called back in, and we worked through the weekend. At the end, again, time's precious, so Saturdays, Sundays, weekends, holidays, it's no guarantee you're going to be off in Baton Rouge. Well, that Sunday was also LSU's regional tournament, so I wasn't able to present his commendation, and I wasn't allowed. We weren't able to go to the LSU baseball game because we were in session
Right.
on Sunday afternoon. So my assistant Candy went there, presented it to him, and they gave it to him. I really wish I could have been there, but unfortunately that didn't permit. But great honor to get the rank that he had, and always happy to do that.
In your community, well, your last one before we start talking about more of a wrap up here was 251 designates June 5th as Louisiana Unclaimed Property Day.
Well, if you look on TV and you see our state treasurer, John Schroeder, will come on and say, you may have unclaimed property. You
Right.
have money. May it be an insurance check that you had, or a deposit that you had forgotten about. Or last year I passed some legislation that said it dealt with all the gaming accounts that have been set up for betting with Caesars and sports gambling. That if your account goes abandoned, sometimes you put money in an account, you forget it's there.
Yeah.
After a while, they start charging you a service fee. The legislation that we had last year prevented them from charging you that fee.
On
or from
dormant
taking your
account.
money on a dormant account. So basically what happens is after a couple of years, those funds go into an unclaimed property fee, and then you can check online and find out through Louisiana unclaimed property if you have anything. And I've gone on, my assistant goes on and searches. It's very easy to do. You can do it yourself, but we search from time to time, or we find out somebody has it. We contact them and say, you have $37 in
Right.
an unclaimed deposit from a utility company.
Yeah.
So, it's always nice, found money. It's your money. So, basically you're getting your money back, but the treasurer had come to me, Treasurer John Schroeder, who's running for governor, and Johnny come to me and said, hey, it's our 50th anniversary. Would you mind running this resolution to commemorate that? So it's been 50 years of unclaimed property, and John has done a great job doing that, because when John runs, he gets more name recognition because of unclaimed property.
Exactly.
People go, who? John Schroeder, who's he? I said, that's the guy who gives you money
Gives
back.
your money back.
Okay, I know, I like him.
When that $37 feels like $1 million.
My assistant, Candy, she had a couple of hundred, and I've known people through this area that got thousands. So you never know what you have out there. So
I'm going to have to go check mine again.
Property sheet. Put your name in there. It's not hard to find.
So,
And,
so let's talk about the Louisiana wrap up here. The session ended kind of abruptly. There's a lot of.
well, it's not abruptly. It's pretty much set in stone when it ends. It ends at 6 o'clock on June 8th. I mean, but a lot of things came through in a hurry at the end. There were a lot of changes made, and one of the things I think possibly we're going to have to look, or not possibly, we have to change the format of how quickly and how rushed things are done. It was something. It was a little hectic, and we kind of knew it was hectic. Part of the debate that happened is the conservatives, like myself, wanted to pay down more debt. Everybody says Louisiana's flush with money. We are, but we also have debt. So I consider it of somebody that won money in a raffle, and you said, I'm going to go out and with credit card debt, say, you know what, but I'm going to go put $5,000 down on a new truck. It's not flashy to pay down debt.
Exactly.
But, and people like to bring home and say, look, I got the new car, or I got the new truck. But paying down debt, you can go get the new truck down the road.
Exactly.
So we had to find a happy medium, and there was a lot of negotiation. Some people wanted to spend everything, and we came to a point where we were paying down debt. And by paying down debt, I mean the unfunded liabilities that we are on the hook in the retirement system, in both the state employees and the teachers. And we paid down a good portion of that. So we put an investment in that and paying down debt, freeing up money down the road. And we also didn't spend everything. Not everybody was happy, and some people were very upset. The fact that we exceeded the expenditure limit. I didn't want to exceed it either, but there were a need to have some projects done. There are some projects in my district and many others that needed to be done, and I wasn't trying to restrict that. We were just trying to make sure that the money that was spent where you got a good return on investment, and you didn't spend people's money like it was free money. Because to me, the budget bills are always the most important bills that we pass. And sitting on appropriations, I get to sit through many hours of testimony to find out where the money's going and to make sure that we spend it responsibly, because it's our money, it's your money, and I think we've done a pretty good job. Did we get everything we want? No, we didn't.
Well, there was like two groups. The Republican Party in general seemed to be a little bit more split. You had a harder fiscally conservative group that on principle said we're not, regardless of how many projects are out there, we're voting no on the spending cap raise because all we want to do is pay off debt. And then there was another group that felt their approach was more balanced, where they said, look, we're going to, our group is going to pay off some more debt, and pay off some of the debt, but also invest in some, and using the word invest, which is what most people use, invest in infrastructure projects, and they took a more balanced approach.
And that's kind of where I fell in. I ended up falling in that group. I was pretty hard line at the beginning because I was against it without knowing what exactly we were going to do with it. That's meaning I didn't want to give a blank checkbook without getting some of the concessions guaranteed that we wanted. Is it the way I would do it, where it's at the last minute? No. I think we need to have a better process where you pass the financial bills earlier in the process, so you don't have issues like you're having now, where you're finding out that by doing certain things you cut out certain projects that you need, may it be funding for LDH or a port project or a road or a bridge in a certain area, that people didn't find out to the end that the funding was moved from that to pay down debt.
Exactly.
So you lost projects that they thought they had. Everybody was good with keeping their projects and doing both, but in order to do one, you couldn't do the other. So
But they found out that shuffling in the last minute.
It's the most distasteful part of what happened in the last day is that it was hard to keep up, and I think everybody would echo the same thing. Hard to keep up with what was going on that last day. But you're under. It's not like you can say, "Oh, timeout. We'll just go past 6 o'clock," because once you get to that point, you got to have a budget by the end of the month, because our fiscal year ends in a couple of days at the end of June. So you've got to pass that budget. Or we'd be in a special session right now. Or we would have been in the last couple of weeks.
From an outsider point of view, my point of view as being an outsider, is that I saw so many good bills making their way through the legislature. I saw so many good bills this session getting passed. It was really impressive, and I talked to Democrats and Republicans and conservatives and everybody across the spectrum, and there was a lot of good legislation that went through this time around, and to see the last 45 minutes put such a damper on all the good things that happened was a little bit disappointing for me as just a Louisiana citizen.
If you can't tell from my tone and many others, there were a number of us that were disappointed because of the process, because it seemed rushed, because it was, all I could do. I've had people tell me I was disappointed, and there were a number of us that were disappointed. But you can't change it from the outside. The only way to change this and to make sure it never happens again. And next year we will have a new governor. We'll have a new speaker. We'll have a new president of the Senate. And hopefully the people that are coming back that didn't like it will get together and we'll change it from the inside, because I think there's a number of us that want to. I refer to it as old school politics, and it's one of the reasons why I see us as trailing the rest of the country, because if I don't like hearing that's the way it's always been done, because that's the way it's always been done obviously doesn't work for all of us.
You keep doing what you've been doing, you keep getting what you're getting.
Never change any results. So I think we made a lot of progress in the last 4 years, and we've had some positive wins. Is it where we need to be? No, but we have great people up there that I serve with. A lot of people like-minded like myself that understand it's about the team. I think our freshman class is fantastic. Mm-hmm. I think the Jefferson delegation is extremely strong. I think you've got a lot of us were new, but after 4 years, I don't think we're going to be new. I think Jefferson Parish is going to be a force again up in Baton Rouge, because we lost our representative strength to the Senate. But they've been here. You've got Senator Talbot and Connick and Henry, all great people that have the experience. But now you've got all the representatives on the East Bank. We have a total of 11 in Jefferson Parish that have 11. That's 10% of the legislature is Jefferson Parish.
That's nice.
So it's a strong group that I don't think anybody's termed out or not coming back. So I think that experience will serve Jefferson well, and I think you've got great people in as a team, well-rounded, that can help in all different areas. It's a great group to work with. The freshman class will have a lot to say as we go into our second term, hopefully, and everybody's talking about what we can do and where we're going to be. First thing we need to do is get reelected. I think people have great plans of what they plan to be next term, because that's what people are looking at. The question I get asked all the time is who's going to be governor, and the second question I get asked is who's going to be speaker. First thing you need to do is get reelected. Let's make sure all of us get reelected before you try and plant that flag to be speaker. There are a number of great people that want to be speaker, that have a great interest, and I think we will come and be united in picking. If I have anything to say with it, we will be a team. As a coach in me, as you know, I like to refer to that a lot, but it's not just in baseball, it's in life. You can't get anything done by yourself, and you need others to work with you. You can work with people and deliver that message, and get people to buy into what's important. And what's important, and if I'm not making a difference and we're not making the state better, I'm wasting my time.
I love it.
I don't like wasting my time. And there's a number of others up there. If we're not going to do anything to change, if all we want to do is be the same, I think myself and a number of others will go find other things to do.
Because if they feel they can make a difference somewhere else, they're going to go somewhere else.
They're going to go do something else because it is pretty much a. You have to want to help this state. If you get up there and it wasn't, there's a number of people that get elected if it's not what they thought it was going to be. Is it everything I thought it would be? Yeah, I knew it would be tough. I knew it would be tough at home. It would be tough because you and I both still work other jobs. It's hard in your business.
It's a part-time job.
It's part-time pay. It's a full-time job because I'm working today.
It's a part-time job. It's labeled a part-time job, but it requires
part-time.
Full-time plus overtime plus double time.
Look, whoever knew I was back in town, I've gotten a dozen phone calls. I guess everybody saw on social media I was back in town because everybody has called me this morning.
Well, speaking of part-time, double time, overtime, do you think the legislature is going to go into double time, overtime in a special session?
I think there's a good possibility. You know, we're always supposed to. Technically, when people say, are you going to call yourself back into a veto override session, technically you're supposed to go back unless you call yourself out of it. So, you know, I always think we should go back. I never send my paperwork in saying, they send you a letter and you sign it and say, I don't think we need to come back. Well, I always just never send my letter in.
Can you do something neat like some of the other reps did? Some of them burned their forms. Some of them shot their forms. Some of them did a bit. Can we do something fun that did not send it in this time?
Again, that's not my style.
Right.
I mean, I'm not the flamboyant guy. I don't do a whole lot of things for theatrics. You know, that's me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we got to start wrapping up here in a minute.
No, I do. That's actually somebody else I have to take a call from.
Well, but, so you think we should go back in this session? Can they do anything to fix some of the wrongs that happened?
I think if we came not in a veto session, but if we go into a special session, and that would be the governor calling us back in. Again, I've been out of town the last couple of days, so I've kind of turned it off. I'd say turned it off. There were a number of legislators up there. We did talk about it, but nothing would surprise me. We've been in a number of special sessions in the past for various reasons. Even this year, we went up there to help fund an incentive program for insurance companies.
Well, the governor has to call a special session, right?
The governor, we could call ourselves in too.
Okay,
the governor, it would be the governor if he called it. If he calls a special,
I doubt he's not. I doubt he's gonna call a special because he probably wants to kind of.
The governor's coming to the finish line. I don't know if it was important enough for him to call it, and he felt like it was necessary for us to go back in there. We may be back in there for redistricting because of what happened in Alabama. So, as much as I told so many people I served with, and I hugged them, and I went, "It's been great serving with you. We may end up back together."
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Before we know it, but so at least we'll be together till the end of the year, and I think everybody now has turned their attention towards re-election, or some of our colleagues are looking for other offices. There's a number of people.
It's going to be like you said, interesting next 8 months between a special session possible, a possible veto override session, a special session for redistricting, and then everybody's running for office, running for different offices, and rerunning. This next 6 months, Louisiana is really open for a lot of people to get involved and make a lot of difference. It
sure is.
Well, Representative Illg, any final words before we end out?
No, stay positive. Let's pray for a safe hurricane season, and looking forward to the 4th of July. Come on out to Uncle Sam Jam on next Monday, on the 3rd. And happy to be back home. Go Tigers, LSU, baby, #1. Great trip. If you haven't been to Omaha, make the trip one day.
I'll do it next year. When they go back into defending championships.
Defend that championship.
Love it.
Good seeing you, William.
Good seeing you too. Everybody else, please share the video and catch us on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. Thank you so much.